Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Progressive HR Live. This is a reschedule event from last week when LinkedIn live streaming went down and Brittany and I wondered what was the problem. So we rescheduled to today. So thank you everyone for joining us. And I'm here with Brittany Palmer, the founder and CEO of Beeyonder. And today we're going to be talking about inclusive employee benefits. So we've been talking a lot about inclusive benefits in the media and in the HR space. And when we talk about inclusive benefits, we're not necessarily thinking about including the populations that you had talked about, people with disabilities, people who are caregivers, people who can't necessarily, different socioeconomic backgrounds. So I wanted to ask you, why are inclusive benefits important to add to the employer's benefit stack?
Sure. So, I think now there's been so many articles out there about diverse and inclusive workforce having so many benefits to a company, from boosting morale and improving brand loyalty to improving financial performance. There was an article recently that talked about how corporations identified as having a diverse and inclusive workforce are 35% more likely to outperform their competitors. And when you have that diverse and inclusive workforce, it's made up of a lot of different types of individuals with varying abilities and challenges and needs. And they can't always be effectively addressed using a traditional one-size-fits-all approach to benefit and perk offerings. And in addition to that, most benefits really fail to include people with disabilities and those in non-traditional circumstances, such as being a caregiver. This is a way for employers to provide perks that are differentiating from other companies and again, attract and retain those employees who are looking for not just, a paycheck, but something more, knowing that their employer really cares about who they are and, their differences to others.
And exactly. And that's why I appreciate what Beeyonder is doing so very, very much. As preparation for this live, I looked up the definition of inclusive benefits and on Google, and this is what I found. Inclusive benefit is a benefit that is accessible to all employees regardless of age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or marital status. And this definition fails to mention what Brittany is trying to accomplish with including those employees that need more accessibility, with disabilities, that are caregivers, and again, from different socioeconomic backgrounds. So what is virtual travel and what types of virtual travel do you offer?
Sure. So there are a lot of different types of virtual travel. I think a lot of people are more familiar with the pre-recorded versions that you see maybe on TV that are or on YouTube. But the virtual travel that we offer at Beeyonder is a lot different than those. It's live and interactive. So you have a live, like on a Zoom call, for example, where you actually are able to talk to the guide, ask questions, and really interact with them. And all of our tours are live. So we have two different types of tours. One is a live from the street walking tour where a guide has their phone and like a stabilizer where they walk you around the streets or even in the jungles of Costa Rica and give you a tour just as if you were there in person. And the other type is presentation style. So using videos and pictures and slides to iterate a presentation style version, but take you through a particular location. All of our guides are really qualified and vetted before they go on the site. So they either have a significant amount of experience in whatever they're giving a tour in, or they're certified tour guides of a particular location. And both types of virtual travel that we offer are super popular and really loved by those that have taken our tours.
Thanks, Brittany. Actually, a really interesting tour now for everyone. We're going to go walking through some of the streets of Amsterdam with our guide. So, okay, let's go to Amsterdam.
Amsterdam is named because it was a settlement around a dam on the Amstel River. And that's what we're looking at here, is the mouth of the Amstel River. Well, it was. It's not anymore, because you can see there's some buildings over there. And they actually block the river completely. They weren't very sentimental about their river. They filled it in for building things. But the river flowed towards us this way. And it flowed around here. That's the main road, by the way, that leads to the dam of Amsterdam. But the river flowed this way here, and it flowed out into an estuary, which was tidal, so salt water. And it would have been a forest of masts over here. Clearly, it's not an estuary anymore because there's a big red brick building there, and that is Central Station, built in the 1880s. And a lot of Amsterdammers didn't like that at the time because they felt it landlocked them. It took away their Venetian element. But it's a pretty popular building nowadays. It's architecturally interesting, and it links us to Europe very conveniently. You can be in London and King's Cross on the Eurostar in no time at all. It's about 3.5 hours, I think. Same to Paris. Brussels even quicker. You probably want to fly to Berlin, but you can get by train. Overnight train to Vienna, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, we're still kind of connected in the old center here. Now, walking through these little streets, you'll see a lot of buildings from the 1700s. And have a look at the building ahead. It's actually leaning forwards. Can you see that here? Some buildings lean forwards and some don't. They were actually built that way. I'll come back to why in just a second. I do just want to talk about the flag. The flag is the Amsterdam flag, and it comes from the city crest. So there's a shield, and it has this design vertically on the shield, the 3 X's on black with red either side, and everyone loves the flag here. Because it's very visually striking, isn't it? I mean, not difficult to like. And this building here, the one that leans forwards, here's the date on it. 1618, isn't that amazing? Pretty cool stuff. And these ones here, you can also see at the end of this alleyway, they also lean forwards, like that. Now, just past the corner here on the right is one of the 2 remaining wooden houses in town. All the rest burnt down or fell down. And this is by far the prettiest. Black one here. And with this one, you see it comes up and it goes out a bit, up, out a bit, up. And the reason for that was so that when rain hit the top, the water would fall down and it would fall past the lower levels, which was much better for the wear and tear of the building. So that's why one of the main reasons why they had them coming out a little bit like this. And when the city said, okay, look, we've got too many fires happening, you need to use bricks. What they did is they sort of followed that line out and made the buildings lean slightly forward. And the rain would hit the building, it would run down the brickwork, hit a ledge, and then fall past the building below. Again, better for wear and tear. And, after about 100 years, somebody said, it would be really much more convenient if we just built these buildings vertically. And materials were improving. So that's what happened in the end. They stopped banking them forwards. Now, the street that we're walking on here is actually one of the dikes, or levees, they're sometimes called in the US. And this kept Amsterdam dry from the sea. So the sea was on that side. It was tidal. And then the first early settlements, actually, always with Dutch towns, the buildings were on top of the dikes because they were the highest points of the old town. And of course, behind as well. Now, so there's not a lot between us and the sea. And actually, the Amsterdam Canal water is below sea level 95% of the time, which I think is quite an astonishing thought, really. It's only at the lowest of the low tides at the Amsterdam water level is above sea level.
So that was super, super interesting. Brittany, where should we go next? Should we go maybe to the end of the world?
I think so. Yeah.
Ready for another tour? Here we
Yes.
go. Let's go to the end of the world.
All right. So this is Ushuaia, Argentina with Barbara. And she is going to give you a tour of the end of the world.
With a flag, and you can see this building better from here. So that's the old government house. It was also the governor's residence for many years, and now it's a museum. That, of course, it's called the End of the World Museum, as everything here. You know, it's easy. So this is typical architecture. There was a Spanish architect who came in the early 1900s, and it is very typical from the south of Spain to have those balconies made of wood. So we have some of the first houses, they have that style. That was, well, because of this architect, but then if not, the houses are mostly built with metal. The metal is only the outside wall, so they are very warm houses actually. We have natural gas in this area, so that's what we use for heating. But we use the metal outside. We have an inner wall and different insulation panels, so they're really very warm. So let's see, we're gonna see the government house again, the new government house, and again, the old one. So we're gonna go see a monument. It's the monument to the first inhabitants of Ushuaia, which is very nice. It's actually an albatross. The weather is very, it's usually cloudy like today, so we don't usually have a lot of sunny days. We are entering winter now, so the average temperature in this time of the year is 0 degrees Celsius, which is 32 Fahrenheit. That's the average. Of course, we go -10, -15 Celsius. But it's not very, very cold in the winter. There's a good reason for that, which is that we are in front of the ocean. That moderates the temperature a lot. And then our latitude, if you look at a map, we are 54 degrees south. And the same latitude in the north is around the border between the US and Canada. So that means that Canada, Alaska, and well, all of the northern countries in Europe are closer to the North Pole than we are to the south. So we are the southernmost city in the world, but we're actually not that far south. If we make the comparison with the North Pole. So we have, this is Ushuaia's port, Ushuaia, fin del mundo, Ushuaia, end of the world. This is like the typical picture that you might take. And behind the sign, we have Ushuaia's port. That's the tourist pier. So those are the catamarans that offer the tours in the big old channel. We have a lot of wildlife, beautiful wildlife. We have sea lions, we have cormorants, and during the summer season, we also have penguins. So you don't have to go all the way to Antarctica to see penguins. You can come here and you can see 2 species of penguins nesting in the Beagle Channel, but that's only during our summer, okay? Penguins are only during the summer.
So I got to give credit to the founders of Ushuaia, because she said that it's usually around, 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and usually cloudy most of the year. Like, I have to be very impressed with the founders for doing that. Oh my goodness. So that was a very interesting tour for me, because you think about the end. I mean, that is the end of the world. That is the last civilized place before you get to Antarctica. What is next for Beeyonder in terms of coming features or funding?
Yeah, so we actually just doubled the size of the company a few weeks ago and closed another round of funding. We're focusing on growing our client base and off to a great start, as we've done a number of tours now for some really large companies, exploring the benefit opportunities and the offerings that we can provide to companies even more than than we have, and implementing a couple of different new features for both our users and our tour guides, like for sorting options and tipping and things like that, aside from what we already have on the platform. So really exciting stuff coming up in the next year.
Excellent. And congratulations on your funding.
Thank you.
So how can the audience connect with you and learn more about Beeyonder?
Yeah, so I'll put in the chat my email address, as well as the email address of our senior corporate sales executive, Sharma Patel, and her phone number. So I will do that now so that people can reach out to both of us or Sharma if you have any additional questions.
Awesome. Thank you. So you can connect with Brittany and Beeyonder on LinkedIn. That has come in. Melinda says, this was great. Thank you. Thank you, Melinda. And then let me see here. We want to go. Where do we want to go? I really think that, so this I thought was extremely interesting. And I thought about this is that is it only inclusive benefit or an inclusive virtual tour because you're going on the virtual tour? You can also, like, let's say I'm thinking about going to Zadar, Croatia, and I want to see one of your tours first before I kind of like prioritize where I'm going and what I want to see. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times you do kind of like get into this, what we call tourist trap. And as well, I want to view, how accessible are these places that I'm going if I have somebody within my group that needs a little bit more support or is in a wheelchair or like yourself has joint issues and maybe can't walk as far. So I think this is a great way also to kind of preview destinations to help you plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's quickly go. So we've got one comment coming in, and Jennifer, she says, wow, this is amazing. Thank you so much. Thanks for attending today, Jennifer. I wanted to thank you, Brittany, for giving us your time today and for coming on the live to show us, all about Beeyonder and what you guys have planned for in the future and some of the demos of some of your tours. Thank you so much for joining us today. And audience, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us as well to talk about Beeyonder. And I'm so appreciative of everybody on the live stream today.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brittany. And then everybody, thank you, Resourceful Humans. Have a wonderful Tuesday.